You know, despite how much J.K. Rowling has been trolling the internet on a daily basis, something that will never disappoint us is the Harry Potter franchise. It's a staple of our lives whether you like it or not. Everyone born around the same time as me dreamed about being whisked away to Hogwarts when they turned 11. Now let's take a look at the classic movies and rank them from worst to first. But first, before I start this ranking, I'm gonna lay in some ground rules. As per usual with these rankings, I need to do a quick disclaimer before I really get into this video. Number 1, I love all of these movies. The criticism I'm about to lay against them are not me saying that they're bad movies. They're all great movies and I love them dearly to my heart. Number 2, I have my opinions, you have yours. My opinion is better. I'm just kidding, but then again, this is my video and my own personal rankings. So just please remember, this is just based on no realistic metrics. It's just my opinion as a fan of this franchise. Number 3, there will be moments when I might compare the movies to the books, but not so much that I would derail away from the movies, since this is a movie ranking video based off the movies, but there are just crucial and important storylines in the book that in my opinion should have been added to the movie. So if I do sometime compare the books from the movies, then I do hope you guys could understand my reasoning for it. And I can tell there might be some people who watch this video and be like, oh, you're just a Harry Potter fanboy of the books and can't give a concrete assessment of the movies. Well, actually there are things that the movie do better than the books that I actually enjoyed. But of course, let's get through my rankings first. So in last but not the least, in my number 11, I have Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, do I need to explain myself on why I have this below my rankings? I just definitely don't like this movie, and I understand there are good aspects of this movie, but for me, it was just a couple of different things. The first reason was that it felt like it was trying to tell two entirely different stories and mix them up together into a one jumbled plot mess that really should have not gone together. For example, on one hand, you have Newt Scamander and his beasts. Newt's story with the magical creatures felt fun and whimsical. It was a story about exploring the world of magical creatures and the wonders and excitement that comes with it. It was fun, funny, and lighthearted. Then on the other hand, you have Grindelwald's story, which was very dark and involves wizarding revolution, murders, and plotting. J.K. Rowling took these two very different stories with very different plots and feelings behind them and just kind of threw them into a hat and mixed them together. The resulting film to me seemed really confused about what it wanted to be and how it was supposed to get there. I feel like Newt Scamander and his beast and Grindelwald versus Dumbledore should have been two entirely separate franchises or movies. One is fun and lighthearted, then the other is darker and more serious, because mixing them together really ruins both in my opinion. Another reason was that Crimes of Grindelwald appears to retcon a bunch of already well-established Harry Potter canons and try to rewrite history in a fairly unconvincing way. And I'm gonna give you guys some examples. The first one, Professor McGonagall being a teacher at Hogwarts in the 1910s, when she said in the Order of the Phoenix that she's been teaching there for 39 years, so that's since the late 50s, and that's just going by book canon, by the way. Supplemental material from J.K. Rowling said that she wasn't even born until the mid-30s, so J.K., you're not fooling me. The second one was Dumbledore teaching defense against the dark arts, when he had been said in the Chamber of Secrets to teach transfiguration when Tom Riddle was at school. This one is slightly more forgivable for me if he switches to transfiguration by the early 40s, but I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen, because J.K. Rowling now seems to be writing what she thinks is cool and not paying attention to what she previously has written. The third one is the revelation of the secret fourth Dumbledore sibling. Now, first of all, I think that sounds stupid. Second, it also contradicts what we know about the Dumbledore family from the Deathly Hallows. Fine, maybe it's a secret that Rita Skeeters was never able to uncover, whatever. But the key point about the ending of the Deathly Hallows was Dumbledore saying to Harry, you know all about me now, I have no secrets from you anymore. This movie already reveals a big secret that Dumbledore is still keeping from Harry, and I can only imagine based on the title of the third movie that there will be many more, which cheapens the ending of the main series. And the last one, this is not a canon complaint, but I just feel like the movie tells its story so poorly for the most part that there are so many unnecessarily twists and exposition dumps. The characters act in a bizarre way for seemingly no reason other than to just further the plot point, and the story overall seems too convoluted for its own good while not even accomplishing very much by its ending. I found the first Fantastic Beasts movie to be a pleasant watch, to be honest. Nothing mind-blowing, but a fun return to this world. It sounds like this is how I feel about both of them, to be honest. And there are some things that I liked about the second one, but for me, this is where it really went off the rails, and I'm not really looking forward to watch the third one, to be honest. So overall, for me, it wasn't a really good film. It was confusing to me. It tried to change established history. It didn't seem to have a clear direction. I just really don't like this movie, so much to the point that I'm not really excited to watch the third one, but I'll still watch it, so So yeah, that's my last one. And in my number 10, I have the first Fantastic Beast movie. Honestly, I really like this movie, and Newt Scamander was such a compelling protagonist. Newt Scamander wasn't the modern action hero, he was a compassionate and empathetic individual. Additionally, Jacob stole the show for me. The two played off each other really well. It's a huge surprise to me that many people didn't like this movie. It's unfortunate they had something amazing and really screwed the pooch on the second movie. Honestly, if they really felt like they needed to continue the series and show the battles between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, they could have just taken the Fantastic Beast off the title and continued the story. They could have even taken the setting as an advantage to make it sort of like a crime drama where Dumbledore plays cat and mouse with Grindelwald, and maybe there'd be a brief cameo from one of the characters from the first Fantastic Beast movie. After all, as Austin McConnell puts it,
Harry Potter books are great because Harry Potter books are mysteries disguised as fantasy novels.
So honestly, I have no qualms with this movie, and it's like I said, I really like this movie. I think it's a major departure from the typical protagonist and slash hero story, and I think it's a nice change of pace. The characters are nice, the idea of a small story that's part of a bigger story being the one that's focused on instead is one I've always enjoyed. So the way all the other movies went is really sad to me. Not all movies and films need sequels. Some are just really great on their own, and it would be nice if people and corporations could recognize that more. And number 9, I have Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I think in my opinion, every film has its place, and I won't judge them above that. If I find that it satisfies my desire to watch something of that said genre, I am genuinely happy. As such, I genuinely find that I am entertained sufficiently and enjoy most films I watch. In the same vein, I understand the need to change some things in films adapted from a source in another medium. But this film at times deviates away from the source material so much and so needlessly, which was so disappointing. As in my opinion, I thought that all the previous Harry Potter films in the series had done a terrific job of balancing the faithfulness of the books and the needs for film adaptations, except for one Harry Potter movie that we'll be talking about later. I assume the changes were necessary to set up the way the final installment will be adapted as well. The parts of the film that I found to be what really soured my taste was the burrow scene and the ending of the film. The whole climax and ending I found to be particularly disappointing. I expected much more than what was delivered on screen. If I were you, you should just read the Half-Blood Prince book. It goes more into depths into Voldemort, and it's such a shame that they left all that important bits out of the movie. I was looking forward to seeing them on screen. Also, the mystery of the Half-Blood Prince is so much more profound in the books than in the movies. The book really snags you and lures you in, where the mystery barely even felt present in the movie. The Half-Blood Prince movie really dropped the ball on the Half-Blood Prince storyline. I think there was just too much that needed to be crammed in the movie, and they didn't do the storyline justice with the building up the suspense to who is the Half-Blood Prince or who might be the Half-Blood Prince. I just remember being incredibly intrigued and on the edge of my seat while I was reading this book. And in the movie, the atmosphere and build up to that mystery was just not there. It was unexisting. Perhaps this is just me beating on a dead horse that I've wanted to get off my chest for a while, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who thinks that this was a pretty bad Harry Potter movie. Knowing that the source material of this movie was one of the best books I've ever read in my opinion. In number 8, I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 seems to be the odd one out in the film series. Obviously, it's so much more different to the rest of the movies in terms of the setting and the atmosphere. It's the bleakest film I've ever seen in the franchise, which takes time to build the plot leading to the finale. I also have not seen many people rate this movie in their top 2 or 3 films in the series. For me, after every rewatch, it just gets better in my opinion. It's extremely well directed. The 3 main actors give their best performance in this one. There is a sense of adventure and urgency, and there are some very powerful moments in there. For example, the dance sequence, Hermione getting tortured, the opening scene, Harry and Ron argument, and destroying of the Horcrux in the forest. Overall, I feel as far as quality of the filmmaking goes, it is in the top 2 or 3 in the series in my opinion. In number 7, I have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Now, I know many people have this film on top of their list as one of the best Harry Potter movies of all time, but I want to give some specific reasons on why I have problems with this movie. The first problem is just bad timing. I feel like it just happened to come out in a really bad time. The movie is only a year apart from Prison of Azkaban, and for a really long hefty book like The Goblet of Fire, they should have been given more time to observe the book and see what they could have or should have left in and out of the movie. From the way the movie is presented, it feels really completely rushed, as if they didn't have enough time to get the screenplay right. Plus, John Williams wasn't available due to a really busy schedule, so we couldn't get his music back. Honestly, they should have just pushed for a 2006 release date instead. instead of a 2005 to give it more time. The second problem is that this movie doesn't stick to the source material. One of the main problems I have with this film, and I think anyone that agrees with me, is that the film feels so different. And when I say different, I don't just mean it by being darker. I mean everything is different. Everybody's out of character in this film. Hermione is constantly emotional and crying, Ron being an annoying bitch to Harry and Hermione, Dumbledore having a temper, even though Michael Gambon did a great job playing Dumbledore in the third movie, but the fourth one he just seems so pissed all the time. I also didn't care for the music in The Goblet of Fire, which was composed by Patrick Doyle. It just wasn't Harry Potter to me. The opening theme, including the rest, sounds like an unused track from Batman Returns or Nightmare Before Christmas, which leads me to my next reason. The director. Now, Mike Newell is a great director who's done good films in the past, but this one was just out of his reach. If you watch the behind the scenes of Goblet of Fire, he just goes on about how long the book is and how complicated it is to adapt. He even stated that he never saw any of the movies or read the books while filming except for this one. Chris Columbus, who directed the first two Harry Potter movies, and Alphonse Cuarón, who obviously directed the third one, both said that before the filming, they read the books and studied the characters and the atmosphere of Hogwarts. Cuarón even made the three actors write essays about their characters just to get to know them more. Mike Newell did none of that. The best plot elements in the books were not all in the movie, and the ones that were in the movie weren't even executed the correct way. One of them that bothered me was all the viewers seeing Barty Crouch Jr. at the beginning and also seeing him cast a dark mark after the Death Eater's attack. We were not supposed to see all of that, by the way. What it just seemed like was Mike Newell wasn't that devoted to the project and should have not given this film to. The fourth one is not enough mysteries and suspense. One thing I love the most about the first three Harry Potter movies is their stories that lead to mysteries and suspense. For example, Sorcerer's Stone made us wonder, what was the Sorcerer's Stone? Why was Harry's forehead scar hurting? What was Snape doing with Professor Quirrell? What were the dogs guarding? Chamber of Secrets made us wonder, who was the heir to the Slytherin? What was that monster? Who was Tom Riddle? Why was Hagrid a suspect? Who was killing the students? Prison of Azkaban made us wonder, what was the black dog? Why did Harry keep on seeing it? Why was Professor Lupin missing during classes? How was Sirius Black sneaking into the castle undetected? Why was Peter Pettigrew on the map? All these questions kept us so curious, making the audience want to continue watching more, while also building the excitement and mystery. The only thing they had in this movie was who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire. That's literally it. I would also say the Barty Crouch Jr. mystery also, but that was ruined when we saw his first appearance twice. At the beginning of the film where we should not have seen him, so because of the only one mysterious plot, it caused the movie to be sort of predictable at times, like I already knew who was Barty Crouch Jr. The fifth and last one is the Weird Sisters. Just gotta get this off my chest, but this is just how I personally feel. The Yule Ball sequence was actually pretty gorgeous and pretty great, and it looked awesome for the first 5 minutes, but once they got the whole rock band sequence, it was just like, huh? What? For me, that moment was like Rocky 4 Living in America / Spider-Man 3 Emo Peter dancing moment, again with not sticking to the source material. That was just another scene that just didn't feel like Harry Potter to me. So with that being said, this film is a bit messy and suffers with its storyline. However, there are a lot of people who really enjoy this movie. So if you're one of those people out there that really love this movie, that's perfectly okay. I'm not saying you should hate or dislike the film. I'm simply giving my personal opinions about the movie, so please don't kill me in the comments down below. And the reasons why I have it so high above Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows Part 1 was because it's at least entertaining to watch, even if they don't do the source material justice. Like if I'm going to watch the Deathly Hallows Part 1, I would need to watch the entire series to get the feel of the movie, and Half-Blood Prince was just plain boring to me. In my number 6 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now look, it's not my favorite of the films, but I think it's definitely the most underrated film in the series. I think this is the film that stays mostly true to the source material, even more than Philosopher's Stone. In terms of story itself, I do prefer Philosopher's Stone over this film simply because it was the film that started it all. That being said, this film also does things better than Philosopher's Stone, especially the Ghost and the Quidditch World Cup. Chris Columbus, who was the director, was disappointed with the special effects of the Ghost and the Troll in the Philosopher's Stone movie. In Chamber of Secrets, they perfectly blend the real-life action with the special effects of Fawkes, Mourning Myrtle, the Quidditch, the Basilisk's Fang, and Aragog. In fact, Fawkes the Phoenix looks so good that Richard Harris, the one who played the first Dumbledore in this film, thought that Phoenix was real but it was just a puppet. My favorite parts of this film is the mystery aspects of it. In the book, there are 7 big mysteries that need solving. The first one, why is Dobby trying to stop Harry from returning to Hogwarts? Number 2, who opened the Chamber of Secrets? Number 3, is Harry Potter the heir to the Slytherin? Number 4, who is Tom Marvolo Riddle? Number 5, what is the monster that lies in the Chamber of Secrets that is petrifying the Muggleborns? Number 6, how was Gilderoy Gilderoy Lockhart getting all these awards? And last but not the least, what happened to Moaning Myrtle? In the film, all these mysteries are kept intact, so it follows the similar theme to the books. Now, I did watch the film first before reading the book, but what surprised me is that Ginny was the one who opened the chamber. But what blew my mind was the Tom Marvolo riddle was an anagram, which rearranges to I am Lord Voldemort. And I'm not gonna lie, I never saw that coming. On top of that, it blends the comedy from Ron very well with the tone of the movie, especially with the Aragog scene, the flying Ford car scene, but the filmmakers very smartly made sure it didn't dominate the film over the mystery aspects of it. Also, the acting from the kids improved a lot more in this film. Daniel Radcliffe and Tom Felton had to improvise few of their lines for this movie. With all that being said, it isn't my favorite because there are really some bad stuffs in this movie, like Hermione using magic outside of school, Lucius Malfoy trying to use the killing curse on Harry. Like, what was his plan after he kills Harry? Nonetheless, I do really enjoy this film and think it's the most underrated film in the Harry Potter saga. The book is one of my all-time favorites. I don't know how to explain it, but while reading The Chamber of Secrets, I felt so attached to the plot. There were a lot of interesting stuff. The plot twist about Tom Riddle was wonderful. There's a mystery about the Chamber of Secrets and everyone is starting to think that Harry is the heir to the Slytherin. The book was also hilarious and the movie was an all-time great. And you can't tell me that watching this ending kinda made you teared up a bit. In number 5, I have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Growing up, Order of the Phoenix was my favorite Harry Potter book. Upon my last reread about 3 years ago, I found it overly long. I also was in a bit of a dark place at the time, so I'm not sure I enjoyed the depressing mood of that book, and I went to considering it my least favorite right now. That said, I'm not sure that reassessment was entirely fair, as it has many of my favorite story points. It introduces two of the best villains in the series in Umbridge and Bellatrix, one of the best allies to Harry in Luna Lovegood, and it's hands down the book where Harry has the most growth as a character. The yelling may not be pleasant to read, but I understand that it's meant to evoke Harry's PTSDs. I love that we see the students fighting back against the authoritarian government in this one as well. As for the film, while it's not perfect, I do love it. That's why it's up here in my top 5 Harry Potter movies. I know some people consider David Yates' directing style to be bland, but personally, I find his approach refreshing and extremely fitting for this part of the story. The performances all across the board, especially Radcliffe's, are more mature and not over the top like they were in Goblet of Fire. As with all of the films, we don't get the full nuance of the characters, such as Sirius Black. Gary Oldman's Sirius Black is much more well-adjusted and more friendlier guy in the movie than Sirius Black in the books. That said, the relationship and love he and Harry have for one another is still convincingly handled on screen. The casting for the new characters such as Imelda as Umbridge, Helena Bonham Carter as Bellatrix, and Evanna Lynch as Luna Lovegood are all perfect. I do wish the Department of Mysteries battles with Dumbledore's army and the Order versus the Death Eaters was more intense and had more rooms. But I still love the segments though, and Dumbledore versus Voldemort is probably the highlight of the film. While I do actually think David Yates' directing style and direction improved the franchise's movie tone with the Half-Blood Prince, I mean obviously not in terms of being true to the books, but just from a directing standpoint, I do prefer Order of the Phoenix movie over the books. In my number 3, I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the first of the series of movies based on a literary saga that I deeply loved when it came out in 2001. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, in US it came out as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, so don't kill me in the comments which one is right or wrong. With veteran director Chris Columbus, actually he was kinda young, but already in the 1980s he wrote nothing less than The Gremlins, The Goonies, and Young Sherlock Holmes and Pyramids of Fear, with a soundtrack composed by John Williams, and thanks to a series of well-made production, casting, and special effects choices, I am convinced that it was a really good start for the franchise, and for sure it wasn't an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. The filmmakers hit the jackpot when casting these 3 main characters. Each actor played their part well, but they also had a really great chemistry with one another. Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson were all very young when they started these movies. Nonetheless, they played their parts effectively, in a way that was entertaining and so relatable that they easily sucked me into the universe. The actors made it really easy to buy into the characters individually, but what I really enjoyed was the dynamics between the 3 characters. Ron Weasley was a typical comedy relief, Harry Potter was the focal point of the story, and Hermione Granger was the brains and bronze of the group. I enjoyed watching the characters become friends, and I enjoy watching them work together to solve their problems. They each felt like outcasts to some extent, but they came together to form a really strong group. The effectiveness of these characters was largely due to the writing and the source material and the script itself. But the writing would have meant so little if the filmmakers had not found 3 great young actors for these roles. In number 2, I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's always difficult concluding a film series, especially one as epic as Harry Potter. Fan expectations is of course high, and perhaps this is heightened by the fact that most have read the books and want the quality of the story in literate form to reproduce in visual form. Where the last 2 films fell down is arguably the decision to spread the books across 2 movies. Other longer Harry Potter stories have worked perfectly well as one film, so the obvious commercial decision to milk the last book for all it's worth has an even greater stench. Both Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 suffer at times from a sedated pace that, instead of giving the characters time to breathe, only highlighting deficiencies in the dialogue which can be uninspired and artificial, and the acting which has improved, but the young actors are constantly overshone by the veterans. I would have liked to see Alphonse Cuarón, who made the best Harry Potter movie in my opinion with Prison of Azkaban, bringing his darker and moody visual style to this concluding part of the Harry Potter saga. Ultimately, although David Yates does an accomplished job making a thoroughly entertaining action-adventure film, he is strangely hamstrung by the grander scale of this movie. In hindsight, Deathly Hallows as it is in novel form would have made a more tightly plotted, faster-paced single story. A shorter single film would have also smudged many of shortcomings that the 2 double-headers can only magnify. And yet, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 will still thrill many fans. Harry's story coming together with an epic battle that has been brilliantly brought to life on screen. There's plenty of dramas and twists. Surprise-filled natures of the final hour will have those unaware of the ending clutching in their seats. And I suppose the biggest compliment I can pay the film is that when it's all over, I am ready to jump back ship and revisit this beautiful franchise all over again like a kid. Now in my number 1, it's obvious, I have Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban. Adapting a book is an uphill battle. The plot must be handled carefully, the characters must stay true to the books, but more significantly, the movie must capture the essence of what made the books so special. Prison of Azkaban marks Harry Potter's shift into a darker universe, and no director was more qualified to helm the project other than Alfonso Cuarón and his brilliance in building atmosphere. Long gone is the campy nature manifested in the first 2 films. For the first time, Harry Potter felt so real in all its dark and magical glory. There is a certain touch of magic surrounding Prison of Azkaban. The resultings of the masterful filmmaking techniques in these movies are so amazing. To illustrate, I will be providing 2 instances on how fearsome the Dementors were directed. The first one will be Alfonso Cuarón and then David Yates, who directed the following films. Their introduction in Prison of Azkaban is nothing short of nightmarish. The surrounding atmosphere immediately becomes cold, windows slowly frosting, liquids frozen, and the darkness is brooding. A really observable dread drapes over the scene. We learn first what Dementors represent: depression, hopelessness, coldness before their horrifying reveal. It's the small details, a cold blue contrasting the black silhouette, the long methodical shot forcing our attention, and the invisible force turning the doorknob. It breeds a sense of mystery, fear of the supernatural in a twisted sense, which is magic. This atmosphere created is unparalleled. We are truly immersed in this wizarding world and the horrors of living inside this world. And none of this magical touch is found in the Dementors chase at the beginning of Order of the Phoenix. Instead of creative sequences, David Yates opts for quick cuts and uninventing framing. Never do we feel the Dementors, we just observe them. Any of the immersion is just vanished. There is a noticeable level of quality in each of the scenes. One of a dull mind and one of an inspired one. An inspired mind making all the difference. Boldness is essential to all Harry Potter movies. Sweeping camera movements, atmospheric cinematography, all these small details are important in bringing the book to life. It's the one thing that Alfonso Cuarón has mastered. Hence, the world of Prison of Azkaban feels so wonderfully true. There's a genius to how this crane shot highlights the towering size of the Divine Nation Tower, peering through many sets of the stairs just as the book described, or how creative the invisibility cloak is shown, through footsteps imprints on the snow, foreshadowing in the Marauders map, or on a larger scale, how framing highlights Harry's hero patronum become a shield and deflecting all the horrors above. It all adds up. The dark atmosphere of Prison of Azkaban feels more Harry Potter than any else of the series. When this quality is applied over the intimate Harry Potter storylines, focusing not on Voldemort but Harry's parents, as well as spectacular new characters, it becomes what many consider the greatest Harry Potter movie of the saga. All Alfonso Cuarón had to do was work his magic. And there you go with my rankings of all the Harry Potter movies? Now, I just want to say before I end this video, movies are subjective. You may like them and I may not. So I'll tell you my opinion, and if you don't like it after watching this video, please don't blame me. Harry Potter is more than a movie to me. It's a universe I crave to be in. A dream world that is so addictive that it makes me cry when I realize it's not real. The world, the characters, and the plotline is brilliantly written, and the actors have done a phenomenal job bringing them alive. The beauty of both book series and the movie series is that they grow alongside you as you read the novel or you watch the movies. The first movie or the book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, starts as an adventure story of a boy wizard. It is lighthearted and cheerful and does a phenomenal job in establishing the wizarding world. But as the series continues to grow along with its audience, the last movie was a mature, dark, and powerful movie which I was able to enjoy because of my maturity as a person. The whole series will be an experience that no other series other than Lord of the Rings can give you. With all that being said, this magic only works when you watch these movies at the right time. Yet these movies are not anything short of pure entertainment. They made me smile, cry, and celebrate like no other movies other than Lord of the Rings. I'm a very serious critique, but I've never been able to criticize Harry Potter because of the impact it had over my childhood. It was one among the best things that has ever happened to my childhood. So if you're one of the obscure folks who hasn't seen any of the Harry Potter films, please do give it a try. You will definitely love it. So there goes my very own Harry Potter movie rankings. And again, I know many people may disagree with my own rankings, and that's totally fine since it's like I said, movies are subjective and you are entitled to your own opinion. Well, obviously it depends if it doesn't hurt a certain demographic, but other than that, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love to get your own rankings of these movies. And let me know what's your best Harry Potter movie of all time in your opinion. So, this has been Yorinchi, and I'll see you soon on the next video. Thanks guys.